another minute or so, and we're waiting on Aaron and Jerry Miles to show up. And this, of course, is recorded. So if you guys do have any questions, you can feel free to put them in the chat whenever we get started. Hey. I just now saw the chat over here on the other screen and it said, hey, Kim. And I already just said, hey, Kim. I thought it was me, like it repeating itself. And now you were talking to me. I get it. I'm so special. All right. So we did have another person that was going to pop on. That was going to be Daniel Money, but he has a very light crew right now. And he said, he called me this morning and told me that he couldn't pop on. So you'll be forever curious about what survey people want to tell you. And Jerry and Aaron just joined us. We can see Brandy driving.
Good morning.
Good morning. So thanks for joining us, you guys. Aaron is notorious for waiting to the last second to be somewhere, and you have once again, you have shined your talent. Okay, so most of you guys know I am Kim Anderson, and today we are talking about what your business partners wish you knew that we wouldn't normally tell you. And luckily for me, I don't have to say any of it. I probably will say some of it because Erin is really nice. And she told me that I couldn't be mean, but so I may interject some here and there. But I just want to introduce a few people that are on. We have Mike Prasad with GRA. We also have Kathy and Brandy from GRA2. Thanks for joining, you guys. And then we have Erin Vaughn from Sunbelt. She's, I would say, my better half, but she should probably say that about me too. And then we have Jerry from Florida Insurance Agency. So thank you guys for joining us today. Jerry, are you in a car? Why can't we see you on the screen? You just look like a blob.
I don't have a camera. Sorry.
You don't have a camera?
Not on my desktop.
That's weird. Okay. Well, we'll still listen to you regardless of whether or not we can see your face. Maybe you don't want us to see you because you're going to be so nasty nice. Who knows? Okay. So the first thing I want to do is I want to ask a few questions, and you guys feel free to put any questions that you might have for insurance, title, our mortgage lending in the chat as we're going through this, because really this is a learning thing for you guys. We want you to know these things. It's going to make you a better agent, and for your clients and for the people that you work with each and every day as your peers. So starting with you, Mike, because you were on here first, I want you to describe what you do as if you were talking to a kindergartner, like in mortgage lending. Tell me what you do. Like you were going to try to tell my kids in the kindergarten, but you get the idea.
Well, thank you for having me, Kim. And so basically what I do is someone finds a house that they like and they don't have money to pay cash for the home. So they have to find a way to finance that home. And I help them do that in terms of explaining to them down payments, interest rates, payments, how much they would need up front to pay as a down payment, and how much they'd be paying monthly over time. And making sure for them that it's a wise financial decision to do that, and explaining whether they would be better off with buying, renting, whether they're ready to buy now or they need to come up with a plan to be able to buy in the future.
Is that something that, and speaking to that, do you do coaching to help people get their credit to where it needs to be? If for like long term, like they can't buy now, but is that something that you offer?
So we can definitely talk to someone about their credit and what they need to do. Sometimes they need someone who's a professional credit counselor to work with them. So if somebody's just a couple payment, they have to pay down some debt on a credit card or something like that. We have what's called a what if credit simulator, and that tells us what would happen to their credit if they pay down a credit card, or they open up a new credit card and limit it, and it tells them what'll happen. That's pretty easy to do. There's some folks who need someone to hold their hand for a month or a year and really work on a lot of things, and that's typically where I would recommend that they might want to do professional credit counseling.
Okay, thank you. I'm coming back at you. They get harder. So Jerry, I want you to describe to this group what you think a real estate agent's job is in your own words.
Wow. So since I'm not a professional real estate agent, I mean, they represent buyers, they represent sellers. They try to
Buyers
do
of
the
what?
best. Buyers of homes, of
Oh, okay.
property. Okay. Sellers of homes, property. I'm not going to make any assumptions here. So since I'm not a professional in this realm, let's have one of the realtors tell us what they do.
Okay. Well, not to put anybody on the spot. I know Andrew would come, he'd come off mute in a silly second. Andy, tell me what you do. Okay, there you go.
Basically, our whole job is to bring buyers and sellers together for the purchase either of a home or a commercial property.
Okay, so that was like really simplified, and thank you very much for that. I like simple, I like easy. And I think the whole premise of what we're doing today is we want you to know exactly what our role is, but we also want to understand what your role and how we can work better together by giving you some like tips and tricks. So that's just getting down to the rub of everything. Aaron, Ciel, can you describe what we do? Not necessarily my job. My job is just to bring people together. But what Title does as a whole for the real estate industry.
Sorry, I couldn't get my phone to unmute. Yeah, so Title, we when you find that house you want to buy or want to sell, we just make sure that you really can do that. That it's really your house to sell, and that if you're going to buy it, we make sure that you're getting what you think you're getting, and that you are really going to be the owner of that property. And we sell insurance to make that happen. You're muted.
I said you did a really good job.
I could read your lips though.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So going back to you, Mike, tell me what things should real estate agents be doing to make a transaction easier when they work with you?
Sure. So one of the best things is that can make the transaction smoother is a good handoff of your client. And so there's a lot, what I think is the best way to do it is to introduce the two of us and then have us set up a time to talk between the two of us. And the reason I think that's important is a couple of things. Number one is that at that point, I can really talk you up. I can talk about what a great agent you are, how well you work with your customers, and really, put together that we're a team that works together. The other reason that I really like that in terms of the handoff is because it ensures that that customer stays with you. So when you just give your customer a list of lenders to call, there's not really reason that they may not call someone off that list. And these big box lenders, they have their list of own realtors that they want to send their customers to, because that's part of their profit center, because they charge those realtors anywhere from 30 to 40 to 50% of their commission check when they refer those to them. So when you take control and make sure that they're talking to a trusted lender that you work with, that's going to increase the chances, number one, that they close with you, and number two, then I know who they're talking to. You may think you have this huge impression on your customer, but I can't tell you how many times a customer calls me up and says, well, I'm working with, I think her name is Sue, and she works in a real estate office in Milton. Do you know her? And so kind of it kind of takes away my chance to talk you up and also to follow up with you. So because that customer doesn't go to closing until they get in the car, they have a pre-approval and they can make an offer on a home. So that's my number one takeaway. If you, of anything, is make sure the handoff is smooth. We know who it's from, and that we can talk you up, and they don't go to someone else who's going to try and take them away from you.
So, but I guess, tell me what that good handoff looks like. Is that a text, an email, a phone call, any of the above? What's the easiest thing for you to be able to be kept in the loop?
So I would say either an email is probably the best. Because then I've got a couple of ways to contact the customer. Number one, the email, the text. Most customers do not answer their phone anymore when they just get a call from someone they don't know. Like on my personal cell phone. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Sorry.
On my business cell phone, I'll answer any call that comes in. On my personal cell phone, if I don't have the number saved, it just goes to voicemail. I'm just assuming that anything that goes there is spam, and I think a lot of customers do too. So email and being able to text that customer just converts your communication rate better.
So are you, whenever you're asking for this handoff to happen, and this will play into Jerry as well in a minute, because I know he's got some good information about like what happens before you go, before you put in an offer. Do you guys hear that? It was siren, sorry. What information should an agent be sending you with that referral? Obviously the referral's name and their contact information, but should they also be sending in like what they're looking at as far as like price range, or what information do you need to, or you just want the name and the number and then you can handle the rest? What's good? How do you want to work?
So anything that you've discussed with them that you think is pertinent. So there's a couple of things, like do they have a sizable down payment to put down, or are they going to need down payment assistance? Are they someone who is more concerned about finding a $300,000 purchase price, or are they more concerned about fitting into a $1,500 a month payment? You know, any discussions you've had with them that is important. Obviously, I'm going to have those same discussions, you know, kind of a discovery to find out what's important to them. But anything that you've talked to them about that is a hot button for them is important for me to know, because that way I can make sure that I address those when we're talking. Because for the vast majority of people, probably the two most important things is, what are my monthly payments going to be? How much cash will I need to bring to closing? And then the third thing is the purchase price. So any discussions you've had with them on that would definitely be good.
That's all really good. And I got to hear Jerry talk this morning about what I'm about to ask him, and that is, you know, what should I do know English. Thank you very much. What things should real estate agents be doing with you to make a transaction better? I already know the answer, but I'm gonna ask you anyway so they get to know the answer. And come off mute.
Excellent. All right. So when we have a real estate professional and they are working with a client, they've got a buyer, they've found their perfect home or 3 homes that they think could be one of their perfect homes. First off, right off the bat, go ahead and speak with their client, their buyer, let them know, hey, we're going to reach out to this insurance agency, or hey, here's Florida Insurance Agency's phone number, reach out to them directly. They're going to run an insurance score for you. It's similar to a FICO score. They're also going to pull your loss history. That way, we don't really have any surprises when we get ready for financing, and then when we get ready to move forward with a closing. The big thing for us is we get a lot of phone calls that are asking for insurance estimates. And really, we're trying to shift real estate professionals, mortgage professionals over to don't request an estimate from us. Be prepared to let us speak with the client or to give us the personal information of the client, including the contact, so we can give you a bindable quote. Because the estimate is just that. It's a guesstimate. We don't know what the loss history of the client is. We don't know what their credit history is. So we don't know what the insurance score will be. And why does that matter? Why does insurance score matter? Well, over the last, I'll say 2 to 3 years, the majority of home insurers and auto insurers in the state of Florida are now running what they call an insurance score, similar to a FICO score. So if you've got really good credit history, you'll probably have a pretty decent insurance score. Why does that matter? Well, insurance companies think that if you have a really good credit history, you'll probably be a really good client for them. You're only going to file necessary claims, right? Hey, I rear-ended a car. I need to go ahead and file this claim so that you guys can pay to cover this loss. Hey, my house burned to the ground. I didn't burn it down. It burned to the ground on its own. Hey, pay for this loss. So all of that being said, the insurance score impacts the rate. So if you have a Tower Hill estimate, let's say that Tower Hill estimate on your home or the one of 3 that you're looking at is $1,200. It's an estimate. So it's going to make some assumptions. It's going to be limited coverage. It's going to be replacement cost settlement on the structure. It's probably going to be actual cash value for the contents. It may have 10% ordinance in law instead of 25 or 50. So it's $1,200, right? It's cheap, because we know that when you're looking for estimates, you're looking for something that can possibly qualify this buyer to move forward in this process. The difference in that estimate and the bindable quote, that same $1,200 estimate, we get the personal information, we go ahead and run the score. Well, just with the score, nothing changes. You know, we haven't gotten any inspections to change anything about the construction features of the home, just the score alone. Instead of them getting the $1,200 rate because we assume that they have an excellent insurance score, they have a poor insurance score. So now that $1,200 rate is $2,400, $3,000. So now that insurance estimate that everybody was hedging on, hey, you know, we talked to Mike Brewstad at GRA, $1,200 is perfect. You know, that's within our acceptable cost or premium cost for insurance. Well, you called us back. Now you get the bindable quote. Now it's $2,400. Well, boom. Now we've got a DTI issue, right? And it doesn't just stop there. Potentially, we gave you an estimate. The client calls us, you know, a month later to go ahead and get that bindable quote or get a binder. And we run the loss history of the home that they're purchasing, and it's got 2 or 3 water losses. Well, those 2 or 3 water losses, now they're not going to be able to buy that Tower Hill quote. Now they're going to have to move to a company like Citizens, the insurer of last resort, the state. So let's say they did have an excellent insurance score, right? They've done everything right. They don't have any losses of their own. So they qualify at the $1,200 premium with Tower Hill, except the home that they're buying has 2 water losses. So now it does not qualify for Tower Hill. Now they're going to have to go to Citizens, and that policy is $2,000 or $3,000. Boom, we have the same issue. So it can trigger a DTI issue right off the bat again. It can also trigger some trepidation in the client. You know, they're kind of backing away from this house because now there are 2 water losses that weren't discussed or possibly weren't disclosed to that buyer. I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
No, that's because I was on mute.
Oh,
One of the things that you have talked about in one of our previous classes or discussions, and you've said that I don't know that everybody realizes is that the insurance really affects it's the person that's buying the home and their history, and then also the home itself. And so I think that's a big thing. But another really cool thing that not cool, and it goes into what you're saying about estimates is a lot of times when I would do like open houses with people, I would say, hey, I'll bring you a closing cost estimate and you can have it so you can kind of show what it's going to be. Worst case scenario, like 100% financing, this is what your closing costs would be. And then I'd reach out to somebody in the insurance world and say, hey, can you get me a quote for this house? And yeah, absolutely. But it's not real. It's like, okay, this is going to be the very best case scenario if this person has like A+ credit or insurance score, and that is taken into account. They've never had any losses and the house is in perfect condition. So yes, that's a best case scenario quote. And that kind of struck home with me because I don't think a lot of people realize that when they're doing open houses and they have the quotes, it would almost be better to have something like worst possible scenario and best possible scenario, but nobody wants to do that because they think, well, no one's going to call me. But I do think it would be better to be very forthright, like there's been a lot of damage on this house, and if you got a lot of damage or a lot of baggage in your past, you need to not look at this house. Anyway, so I'm going to move on from that. Thank you, Jerry. Aaron, back to you. If you could tell agents something that would make your life easier in the title insurance world, what would you tell them to do differently or to do?
Oh, goodness. Well, so I kind of polled the audience, which would be my closers, to see what they thought that was really important to them. And one of the things that several of them mentioned was just obviously sending contact information when you send a contract is preferred and easier. But one of the biggest things is they were talking about all the people matter. So if someone's married, that matters. We need to know. If someone's getting divorced, we need to know. If someone's dead, we need to know. Preferably in the beginning. So when we do get our title commitments from the underwriters, we already know all these things, or we can let them know ahead of time, which makes their job a lot easier. So that's one of the big things is we'll get a lot of contracts that'll just have one person, and then we maybe find out a few days before closing, oh, by the way, this person's married, but just the husband's gonna buy the house, which you think is simple and not a big deal. But if they have a loan, it is a big deal because both spouses have to sign off on that mortgage. So that's one of the big things that kind of throws a wrench in things. So if you know someone's married, and they're not necessarily putting both people on the contract, just let us know so that way we have a heads up. Or if you know they're getting divorced, that's always good to know because it's very uncomfortable to call someone about something and they're like, oh yeah, I hate that person and I haven't talked to them in 6 months, so don't ask me questions about her. So those are always fun things to know ahead of time. And then, of course, same thing with deaths. If someone's dead, that's good to know. So that way we're not trying to figure out who this missing random person is when we get back our title work that nobody's mentioned. And it's because they've been deceased and someone assumes that they have rights to sell the property, and maybe they do, but maybe they don't.
Okay. I'm going to stick with you for a second, Aaron.
Yay.
Yay. What's the one thing you wish you could tell agents, but you have a hard time with? Oh, well,
no is a good one.
Oh,
I wish
you didn't want to ask me. And I was like, oh.
No, I hate having to say no, but sometimes you have to. So, just if we have to tell you no about something, just be kind because we never want to say no. We always want to say yes to everything, no matter what it is. But number one, we have laws. So sometimes we can't say yes to everything. We have a whole bunch of rules we have to follow and, title people, even though we do closings, we're really an insurance company. So kind of just like Jerry, who has a lot of laws to follow, we do too. So yeah, really just,
Mike's just out there, just all willy-nilly. I don't got laws. No, not me.
oh yeah, Mike, he has no rules. So he gets to be yes, right, Mike?
He's like near.
I say yes to everything.
There you go.
Now, my underwriters might not like it,
Right,
but
yeah,
hey.
exactly.
I think that, and I'm going to speak to this just because this is kind of when Jerry and I first were talking. In fact, I called Jerry to do a solar panels panel, funny panel. And he was like, bottom line is we can insure solar panels. It's not really a big deal. It's not really, what I really want to do is tell people yada, yada, yada. And I was like, man, I really wish I could just tell them no sometimes because I would be breaking the law. But instead of doing that, I try to figure out a way to be creative and skirt around RESPA, which is the Real Estate Sales Procedures Act. And it governs us in what we can do in title insurance because it's not a tit for tat thing. We can't buy business. And so sometimes saying no, even though it seems like it would be easy, oh no, I can't do that. It's very hard, especially in the environment that we're in. And our company's motto is literally, let's get to yes. So I just wanted to interject that. But Jerry, are you there still? No picture self?
Absolutely.
Is there anything that you wish that you could just take off the kids' gloves and say,
No,
Don't
no.
worry.
Ultimately, it's the
No.
estimate versus the bindable quote. We see that mess up closings too often because of DTI, which you defined as debt to income. It just blows up too many deals. And those clients, a lot of times they don't find out until the mortgage underwriter is asking for their evidence of insurance. And that's, 3 weeks before the closing, and then boom, it becomes an issue. So really just, if you could send us an email, copy the client, make sure we have their personal information. We'll reach out to them. We'll do everything in our power to give them the coverage necessary to move forward and the coverage that's necessary for their specific need. If we see any issues or potential issues, if you referred it to us, we'll actually reach out to you first and have the discussion. So if we run the loss history and it pulls up multiple issues and we see that, hey, look, we're not going to be able to go to a preferred market with this anymore. Here is the market, but I don't want to surprise this client with these losses. So we're going to reach out to you, the client or the person that referred it to us, and just have a quick discussion. Hey, it's pulling, 3 or 4 water losses. Is it possible for you to go back to the seller or the seller's agent and see if maybe they've got evidence that maybe the plumbing was replaced, not just repaired, but it was replaced. So continued losses has been mitigated. And then we can go make an argument to the preferred insurance markets, which are going to be the most cost effective to assist that client. So yeah, ultimately, if we don't sell you insurance, we don't make any money. So we want to say yes to everything. There are some things that we say no to. There are some things that we say yes to, and we offer you a quote. And because of loss history and credit history, that quoted premium is just too costly, right, for that consumer. So that's it. That's all I've got. I appreciate y'all letting us take up some of your time today.
Well, I'm not done with you.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I have another question. So my next thing is working with business partners, other business partners. What's a way that would make that relationship better for you? What would make that easier? Is there something that title could do, or even like survey anybody else that would, our mortgage, anybody, what could they do differently to make your life easier?
So with Florida Insurance Agency, we're a little bit different than a lot of the local agencies. There are about 30 of us. We have 3 office locations here locally. One of the things that we've pushed really hard over the last year is we have an administrative team, a service team, and a sales team. So if you are running into a closing issue, you're a title professional, you're a mortgage professional, you're a real estate professional, it's Friday afternoon. Let's say Allison or Ryan were the ones that quoted it for you, right? They got you the binder. Now it's gotten to the closing table and the mortgage company is being changed, right? The lien holder is being changed, or something is wrong with it. And Allison or Ryan are out of the office. Well, here's the benefit of working with us. You call us, just select service, right? Call our 850-994-9211 number, select service in the prompt, tell them your name and what you need to do, and any one of our administrative or service team members can go ahead and fix that for you. You don't have to speak directly with the producer to get a resolution. And that's big for us. And we have in the past lost some business because our referral partners went directly to the producer. Well, if the producer's not here, we have backup for those producers to make sure that your needs are met, even if they're not here. So that one's big for us.
What about you, Mike? What is there something that your business partners could do to make your life easier? And this is not just for us to learn from that, but it's for agents to say, hey, did you follow up with so-and-so and do this, so that they can stay on top of the transaction as well? But is there something that your business partners could do differently or to keep doing? Or
So I would say, you know, we're still in a schizophrenic market, where we have some properties that are sitting in the market for, you know, 3 months before they get an offer. And then we have the well-priced, good condition home that it goes on the market and has 10 offers within a day. So I know we used to, you know, get the buyers prep beforehand to get everything in. And I think we've kind of gone away from that because of the fact that there are some properties that are staying on the market longer. I think if you, number one is, as soon as you're working with a buyer, get them over to get them pre-approved before they go looking. Because if they find that home that they love, if it's a well-priced home in good condition, there's a possibility they'll have 10 other offers they're competing with on that same property. So getting, you know, if they're applying after they saw that property, that's going to put them at a disadvantage for that property. Because they may not be able to get their documents in on time. They may be self-employed and they have to get their tax returns over, or they may have something we have to run by underwriting support before we can. And that just, if we get that during the, you know, before they've seen the property, then we can have all those issues worked out. So they have a very strong pre-approval letter. The other thing is, not only is our market schizophrenic in properties, but rates are just the same way right now. And that, you know, rates are very volatile right now. So if you're taking a customer out shopping for the weekend, make sure they're checking in with their mortgage professional on Thursday or Friday to get an update on the market of where rates are at. Because that payment, that rate that they got, you know, 2-3 weeks before, likely that it's not going to be the same. It could be better or it could be worse, you know, and that's going to make, you know, something that's, you know, if their payment's a couple $100 more a month, they may not, you know, that may, you know, when you get that offer one and then they go to the mortgage professional on Monday morning to get their loan estimate, then they may back out because that payment's higher than what they expected. So get them in, get them over to us Thursday so we can talk to them. We can get them prepped before they start looking.
Gotcha. Can you hear me? Yeah, I'm not on mute anymore. I'm gonna ask that. Okay. Jerry said personal info is necessary for starting a bindable quote, legal names, date of birth. I'm gonna put that in the email that I send out to you guys. Of what, the insurance needs to do a quote. For starting a bindable quote, that is, and I'll put that in like the information that I send out, follow-up email. But I do want you guys to put in the chat or either come off mute. I prefer you to put it in the chat and come off mute, but at least put it in the chat. And tell us about any listings or open houses that you have coming up. And while you are putting it in the chat, I will tell you that next week, and we are doing a bit of a marketing smash up. It's Tuesday at 2 p.m. It's Talk About It Tuesday, and it's how to become a gorilla. And somebody earlier was like, a Marilla gorilla? What is that? And I'm not sure if you've heard of guerrilla marketing. But you will after next Tuesday if you come to the Talk About It Tuesday. It's basically innovative and out of the box thinking marketing with very little cost. And then it's also combining it with the former VP of Waffle House, who actually lives in Perdido, Florida, Perdido Key. His name is Bert Thornton, and he wrote a book, Find an Old Gorilla. And he came and talked to my Rotary one time, just very phenomenal about finding a mentor. And it's not so much as you finding a mentor, but becoming the mentor. And how do you do that? And how do you also grow yourself as a real estate agent? So it's going to be a lot in a little bit. It's going to be a really good presentation, I think, because I created it. And that's really all I have. Nobody's put in any listings in the chat. So I guess nobody has anything new. Remember that people from Panama City to Perdido can hop on and watch this at any time. I had somebody from South Carolina message me last week about geofarming. It was very strange. I was like, I don't service South Carolina, but I'm glad you saw it. Anyhow, if no one has any other questions and you don't want to put any listings in there, I am going to put all your names in a hat and draw for a prize because you guys are really quiet and okay. And I'll let you know who won. So you guys have a fabulous Tuesday. If you're going to the top producers panel at PAR, I'll see you there. Bye, guys.
Thank you, Kim.
Bye.
Thank you.